Hello again. This is Ralph Boehm giving a legislative update and some other things. We had a session 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday this week at the Doubletree Convention Center, which was a whole lot better than last year when we were having it at the Sportsplex. It was smaller space, but we were separated. And one thing good about the remote sessions we're having, we get free lunch. Normally we have to buy our lunch. But anyway, along with the $100 a year we make. So, and these were mainly to vote on bills that vetoes, there were 5 of them, and bills retained from last year. So if you recall from previous sessions, every bill that's put on, we have to vote on in the 2 years. Not like Congress, which holds on to bills and not allow people to vote. All bills have to be voted on by the whole House, one way or another. So, but first, before we do that, let's look at some report, a news report some weeks ago concerning cancer rates on PFOA as reported in the Union Leader and other places. So I want to bring up the actual DHHS report. So, and we'll go to page 2, New Hampshire Division of Public Health Services. And this is the report. I'm on the commission, the PFOA commission, and this is the report they had done last month. And if you look at 118, DHHS published a report on cancer in Merrimack. And if you look at the second bullet, it says, at the time, DHHS reviewed scientific literature relating to cancer-causing nature of PFOA and found only some studies which showed an association, not a causation. Okay, so in other words, the results they found did not say that came from St. Gobain. There are other issues causing renal cancer. And if you look it up online, for example, it'll say that it can be caused by smoking. It can be caused by taking too many Tylenols, acetaminophen, and ibuprofens. And then recently I heard on the television, one of those, if you were prescribed blank, I can't remember the name of the medicine, and you got renal cancer, you can get money. So, hello? There are a lot of causes of PFOA. Of renal cancer. So the results, now if we go to page 6, they have a thing called, what is an SIR? Standardized Incidence Ratio. Calculate to provide an estimate of the likelihood that an excess of cases exists in the population of concern. Since cancer rates vary by age, the SIR calculates age-specific rates, the actual age distribution of the population. And it's just a small number of cases. Now, proof of correlation, what isn't an SIR? Proof of correlation or causation, in other words, it doesn't prove anything. An indication of a cluster of cancers caused by environmental exposure, and the end of an investigation. The investigation is still going on. Now remember, this was only for what they did Merrimack. Now the whole thing is we want them to also do a report of cancer causing in all of the towns that are affected by St. Gobain, which include Bedford, Litchfield, and Londonderry, and to see what are those causes. If there are a high number of renal and kidney pelvis cancers in the rest of the town, then yeah, maybe it's a probability rather than a possibility. So that's just the concern. My whole argument, which I credited DHHS when they gave the survey of doing it correct, because one of my favorite sayings is, there are lies, there are damn lies, then there are statistics. And unfortunately, some people over in Merrimack mess with the statistics. Okay, so just wanted to get it right. Now, if it's a cause, if PFOA was, yes, it did cause the renal cancer and other cancers, then yes, we need to take action. But there's no proof that it is, and we want, and it wouldn't pass a jury, you know, in other words, with those arguments. Hey, wait a minute, all these other causes, and if you, like I said, if you go look up online and say causes of renal cancer, it'll give you smoking, it'll give you NSAIDs, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and well, it didn't even mention that other drug. So there are other causes, and PFOA wasn't even on the list. So, you know, so just be careful of sensational headlines. I mean, people are just trying to, you know, I don't know if the union leader did that on her own or somebody did it, and I think it was just somebody from Merrimack that did it. So be careful of that. Also, in the same vein, and also too, did any of those people that got the cancer live in the affected area in Merrimack? Did they correlate the blood tests they did on everybody to see if they had high levels of PFOA? And did any of them have cancer? So there's a lot of steps really need to be done to make sure, so you can put blame and get, you know, and sue or whatever, but you can't cause blame right now. Okay, then also, there was a talk on St. Gobain in their exhaust system, so they're not polluting anymore. They have to put in an emission system that burns up all the chemicals, PFAS chemicals, in the air, in this stack. And somebody complained, well, there's a bypass. Of course there is. It's a high temperature system burning up the waste products. If you don't have an bypass and something goes wrong, the whole place is gonna burn down. I mean, it's common sense. So, and it's monitored. You can go to the NHDES website and look, you'll find information, I didn't bring it up, but another thing like this that shows everything that's being done with that system, and it's computer monitored, and NHDES is monitoring it, so not just all of a sudden somebody can't do a bypass. It's got to be something really had to go wrong, okay? So, of course there's a bypass. I think people need common sense. So anyway, now let's move on to the House session we had last Wednesday and Thursday. And luckily we started Wednesday after the freezing rain, luckily. So the first thing on Wednesday, what we did was an override of the governor's vetoes. Okay, and there was, and it needs 2/3 of a vote to override a veto. There were 5 on 4 on the House side and 1 from the Senate. And none of them on the House side, we overrode the veto. One of the vetoes, and it has to be overridden by 2/3 vote. One of the vetoes was on, remember I put in a bill to move the primary up a month. The governor vetoed it. It wasn't my bill that he vetoed, but the same thing. That, even though that was done to allow more military people to be able to vote, that was the argument people made, but unfortunately, there was not enough votes to override the veto. There were a couple other, nothing major. Then we had to wait until the Senate sent us their bill. They overrode the veto to make SB 38, if you want to look it up, was to make the cannabis sales places to become alternative treatment centers and be profit-making. And the governor vetoed it because the bill would create a preordained for-profit monopolies in New Hampshire medical marijuana marketplace. So he didn't want that. Now, here was the vote. The vote initially was 228 to 115. Now, it would have had to be 230 if 115 voted against it to get the 2/3. So one vote, because, for example, if one of those 115 had voted yes to override the veto, it would have been 229 to 114, the 2/3. But anyway, a number of us are saying, hey, it was my fault. So one vote. So anyway, now let's go over some of the bills that failed to pass. Now remember, all the redistricting bills, remember, brought that up last month. All the redistricting bills on the House side passed. HB 50 was for our seats. Now the Senate still got to vote on them, but they know they'll pass them, and what I've heard, the governor will pass it. And that now puts us, rather than having a floterial with Manchester, we have 2 floterials with Hudson, which probably makes it better. We are a similar community. So right now we still have our 2 reps, and then Hudson will have 6 reps. They're right now with Pelham. Pelham will have 4 reps of their own, and Hudson has 6 reps, and 2 floterials, shared reps between Hudson and Litchfield. Now for Margaret Lane and Rossbury, which we did have floterials with Manchester, they were wards 8, 9 in Litchfield. Now they're wards 6, 8, and 9 in Manchester. So they should still be okay. Also, then the bill on the congressional seats, CD1, Litchfield, along with Hudson, Pelham, and Salem, are now in CD1, which sort of makes it easier because now we won't have signs in Londonderry and Manchester with different candidates than Litchfield. And if you think of it, Salem, Wyndham, Pelham, Hudson, Londonderry was already in CD1, and Litchfield were one big, really demographic area of pretty much the same. You know, when I umpired girls softball, I umpired in all those towns. I mean, it was, and so now it used to be, it was Londonderry, Manchester, and Merrimack in CD1, and we were sort of a tiny piece stuck in the middle in CD2. We're now in CD1. So that should be good too. The other race, 54, that was 52. HB 54 is on county commissioners, and that hadn't changed any. We're still with Litchfield, Pelham, Hudson, and Nashua with 1 commissioner. Manchester, Bedford, and maybe Goffstown, I don't remember, is in the other commissioner seat. And then all the rest of the towns, 23 towns, are another commissioner. So that didn't change any. The problem that's coming up is, I guess it would be HB 51, which is the Senate redistricting. That's still in the Senate. The Senate hasn't voted on that yet. But what I've seen, Litchfield is still shafted. We are still with, and they're having a hearing on Monday. I can't go, but I've sent them a letter to all of that. But by the time you see this, it'll be too late for any of you to send them a letter. But they still have us with 5 wards in Manchester. Litchfield and wards 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in Manchester. That doesn't make any sense at all. That is not fair to Litchfield, and it's not fair to the senator. A senator, no matter what party, it doesn't really matter, cannot really represent Litchfield and Manchester. I mean, for example, some years ago, there was education funding that was done, where in Manchester, they got an extra more, $35 million more. Litchfield lost $2 million. So how do you think that senator would have to vote, no matter who? Would have to vote for Manchester, meaning Litchfield gets it. So it's not fair for Litchfield. It's not fair to the senator. So hopefully, maybe they'll look into changing that. So that's a biggie. So, and also the Senate works on the executive council districts, the 5 executive councils. So they'll do that. So we'll wait to see what that does. Now, the sort of, the rules were not rules, but hey, you don't mess with mine, I won't mess with yours. So, and what I hear, the governor is going to sign these. Okay, now on other bills. HB 255, remember I mentioned this, the last thing, it was on, and we had a hearing up at the House. Some people from Litchfield actually came up. It was a 5-hour hearing in the hall. There was 1 hour of people against it, 4 hours of people for it, and it was the bill to say a company cannot fire you or not hire you if you haven't been vaccinated. It was sort of against the mandate. That was tabled, but that is up before the U.S. Supreme Court right now. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they'll rule the same thing. The rule that you can't do it. It's not, states can do it, but the federal government can't, which I've said over the years. The thing is also, Gary Daniels, Senator Gary Daniels from Milford, Amherst, and those towns, has put in a bill to say, simple, you can't ask. In other words, a company can't ask you, have you been vaccinated for COVID? No different than, are you pregnant? What religion are you, unless it's a religious organization? And other things that they can't ask. This goes into that category. You can't ask people, which I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Also, House Bill 607. That was enabling legislation, and I don't know of any too many towns, less so small ones, which actually would vote for this, in other words, if you want to take your kid out of the public school and put him in a private school, some local money, not state money, that was the other bill, would follow the child. That was enabled. In other words, the school district people would have to vote for that, and I don't know of anybody that would. So anyway, that was also tabled. So now a good one though, HB 214. That puts in, that was part of a subcommittee that I chaired over the summer, and we took some other bills for building aid. What this bill does, HB 214, it has the Department of Education do a statewide assessment of all the school buildings in the state. Now, and they'll do the worst ones first type thing. So it's be an equal assessment of the schools, not my town needs money more than your town because of this. Let's do a full comparison across the state, and that will determine what towns or school districts get building aid. So the assessment is on the buildings and the property and that kind of thing, so not on the students or the teachers. It's on the infrastructure. So hopefully we'll see what happens with that. I mean, the Senate should pass that. Now, all these bills have to still go to the Senate. Also, another good bill, HB 87. This was an election law, and on electioneering. In other words, there's always been a problem in some cases of people going in to vote with a hat on at some candidate's name or wearing a pin or whatnot. Now it's called electioneering. That's been changed. The only people that can't wear that paraphernalia are the people working at the polls, which makes sense. But anybody else should be allowed to vote. I mean, I might have a jacket on. It's the only one I have that has a candidate's name on it. I still need to vote. So that kind of thing, if I'm outside holding my sign, I should be able to go in and vote if I have a T-shirt on or something like that. So that's okay now. It's still got to go to the Senate, but that should be okay, which is a good one. So also, now let's go through here and see what other bills we got. 478. That is a bill put in by reps over in Merrimack on, again, a St. Gobain bill. It came out of judiciary not to pass. And the problem, this is a Merrimack only issue, is the Merrimack Water District, one of their wells is contaminated. Now, they have to put, Saint-Gobain has to put a filter on the whole system coming out of the well. Well, there's a lawsuit going on now that they have to keep the filter on until the PFOA go away. And right now, it's only like for another couple of years. Now, that's in the court now, and that was why judiciary said, well, it's in the court system. I said, so what? So anyway, that passed over the objection of the Judiciary Committee. That passed, so, and hopefully it goes to the Senate and pass. So, my argument was hey, wait a minute, so what if the legislature, why should Merrimack, pay money for a lawyer to fight this? Let's legislate it. Similar to my bill that the Senate still has last year, that hopefully I keep bugging them. It'll come out this year where the amendment of my bill on, if you're on bottled water, because you can't get hooked up to your local water, town water or whatever, public water supply, then after 6 months, Saint-Gobain or any other company that's polluting has to put a whole house filter on your house and maintain it. Because some people in Merrimack, I don't know, maybe even still in Litchfield, for more than 2 years I've been getting bottled water. That's ridiculous. No, it's free to them because Saint-Gobain's paying for it, but still it's the hassle of using bottled water. Yeah? So hopefully that gets fixed in. So there was another bill, 622, that was put in to mess up with the abortion bill we did last year on after 24 weeks. You can't get an abortion. There was a bill to sort of mess that up a bit. That was tabled. Okay. Also, HB 543 is a good bill from Science and Technology. They're setting up a commission, which we don't like to do. Committees we don't like to do in the second year, but commissions are okay because commissions don't have an end date. To study nuclear energy. There are nuclear plants going around the world that are small. They, maybe just powering one city. I just read a report, China's got one for a city. Now think of it this way. We got small nuclear power plants on aircraft carriers, the power an aircraft carrier. One of those nuclear power plants will probably power all of Manchester, those type of things, and submarines. So those things are safe and safer than a big gigantic one. But even now, those ones the big ones are safe. There's no more Chernobyls, which were very old technology, and 3 Mile Island. There's newer technology and whatnot. So hopefully that could be a better way of taking care of wind energy. It's not going to work because it can on and off the grid real easy. Solar, it's fine if it's not snowing and you have to wait for the snow melts off your solar panels. So nuclear energy would probably be, I think, the way to go on that. So also there was a bad bill in criminal justice. And this one, I don't know, it actually passed, even though it was, let me read it to you. Oh yeah, another one, 578, requiring notice to the public before immigration checkpoints are conducted. Now that passed, but the federal government doesn't have to tell us when they do it. They're going to do it anyway. And I didn't like this bill because what does it do? It tells, okay, we have a checkpoint now up in Berlin or whatever for checking to see if you're in this country legally. So what are they going to do? Stay home. So, I mean, let's give a warning before we do anything. So that passed, but I don't think it really means anything because also some people will like this one. House Bill 629, relative to the home cultivation of cannabis plants and the possession of certain cannabis-infused products. That actually passed. Okay, so if it goes through the Senate, then you can grow your own weed. Okay. Now, this is a bad one. This one is actually... no, wait a minute, that one was tabled. There was a bill on, let me see if I find it. Oh, here we go. Oh, there was bills for, oh, yeah, the one on minimum sentences. In other words, if you got a sentence for 10 years in jail, now the law is sort of like, you have to do two-thirds of that sentence before parole. Now, the bill made it so it's only half before. So that's going to be a problem. So even though we can put in the books, there's a lot of this happening because judges were given bad sentences. So over the years, the legislature said these were minimum sentences. Now this sort of messes that up. So yeah, if you have a sentence of minimum sentence of 20 years, you know, for anything, manslaughter or pedophilia or whatnot, it's, hey, after 10 years, if you're good and you can get out, rather than two-thirds of it. So that could be a problem. Okay. Oh, another one. This was tabled, which was good, relative to increasing the penalty for criminal mischief and release of dependent pending trial and requiring law enforcement candidate background checks. And that was sort of criminal mischief, let people out. That's sort of a problem. So anyway. So those were, let me see what else we got here in the list of bills. Like I said, 214 was the good one that was passed. Oh, here's a good one. This was referred for interim study. In other words, they're still going to work on it. It was requiring that voters show identification when personally delivering absentee ballots, which should be. Every countries across the world have that. You have to show your ID when delivering an absentee ballot to show that it's yours. So there's still work being done in that. Electioneering, which I covered, okay, earlier. Column rotation, in other words, every time you go to vote, it depends on how the vote was, and it sort of redefined that, how the, in other words, it's a Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian, how that's going to work. It might be next year it'd be Democrat, Republican. And it's all based on what happened in the previous election and the lottery system. You know, they just take a number. So that's been changed somewhat. I haven't really, you know, so. Okay, another one for provisional ballots. That was tabled because no way we can do provisional ballots like other states do in this country, is because our New Hampshire Constitution says that all ballots have to be counted the same day. So provisional ballots mean to be counted a week from now. So anyway, I hope that gives you a gist of what we did. And we got, in education, the committee I'm on, we have 100 bills this year. So we'll be working a lot. We'll be up in Concord like 4 days this week. So with that, I hope this was informational, and see you probably in a couple of weeks to find out what else will be going on. So thank you.